In today's macro photography tutorial, we're taking a look at chocolate wrappers. Candy and confectionery, and especially premium chocolates, come in some really nice packaging, and this stuff is going to make for some really interesting abstract photographs. I'm going to go and get my camera out, and I'll see you in just a sec. Hi guys, I'm Ben from Adaptalux and welcome back to another macro photography tutorial where today we're taking a look at some of the chocolate wrappers that was eaten over the Christmas period. Certainly in my house we've had lots of these sort of premium chocolates lying around. Most of them have been eaten at this point, but that leaves us with a lot of these premium tinfoil and colourful packaged chocolate wrappers. Certainly Quality Street here in the UK. I'm not sure if you get these anywhere else, but they're all individually wrapped and they're well known for their foil and colourful plastic wrappings. Each chocolate is wrapped individually, all different colours for the different flavours, and I've saved a whole box worth of wrappers to take a look at through our macro lens. Now, of course, there's lots and lots of different types of chocolates out there, and they're all wrapped differently to show off the brands, and I think a lot of the chocolate companies like to try and outdo each other in how premium their chocolate looks. But today I'm using Quality Streets, and the way that these are wrapped, if you're unfamiliar, is we've got this outer layer of transparent plastic material. So this is going to be really interesting to take a look at with our lighting shining through it. And then on the inside of that, we have some foil wrapping as well. Eventually you get to the chocolate, but we're not interested in those today. I'm taking a look at this foil combined with the colourful plastic outer layer. Now, they come in all sorts of different colours, and I've got lots and lots of empty wrappers. I'm going to be bunching them up and putting some light down onto this, and I think it's going to make for some really interesting abstract photos when that light is interacting with all of those transparent coloured pieces and also reflecting off the foil. So I've collected and gathered a whole bunch of these foil wrappers together, and I'm just placing them in a pile on my table. It's going to be a really easy shoot for our subject, and it's going to be heavily reliant on experimentation and just playing around with your subject. So we've got so many different types of wrappers here that the only thing that we can really do is just place them randomly and get started. We're going to look through the camera and see what this mess of foil and plastic actually looks like. Once we've got an idea of what we're working with, we can then start to maybe strategically place a few of the different colors around and bring in a little bit of lighting. My camera setup for today is pretty simple as well. I've got my 100mm f2.8 Tokina lens on the front of my A7 III, and I've got all of that set up on a tripod with a focus stacking rail. I might focus stack, I might not. They might look a little bit more pleasant with some soft focus, but I like to have the option of getting everything in pinpoint focus just to see what that looks like. Finally, I do have a shutter release cable so that I don't wobble my setup too much, because I'm pretty sure all of the foil, the highlights on the foil will be sensitive to a little bit of camera shake, so I want to keep everything as steady as possible. Now, the very last piece to this puzzle is going to be some lighting. With the translucent plastic and the reflective foil on these wrappers, lighting is going to play a big part in how our image comes out. It's going to interact with the foil and reflect and give us some specular highlights, but it's also going to change color as it shines through those plastic parts. Hopefully it's going to make the difference between this looking like an interesting abstract image and just a photograph of a pile of what is essentially discarded rubbish. We are going to be introducing our lighting in the form of the Adaptalux Studio. So this is the Adaptalux control pod, and you can see here that we've got several ports in the front of the control pod for plugging in flexible lighting arms. These simply plug in and turn on, and then you can flex the lighting to be exactly where you need it. We have magnetically attached diffusers to clip onto the front of our lighting arms, which will give us a nice soft light on the front of our foil, and we can also bring this light in from the back to shine through that translucent plastic. The very last piece that we can plug in is some colour as well. So we've not only got the colour from the translucent plastic, but we've also got colour in the form of coloured lighting arms. So this is a green lighting arm that I've just plugged in, and we can bring that in to interact in a slightly different way with our foil and our translucent plastic. Placing our lighting onto a mini tripod so that it sits on top of the table, we can move our lighting all the way around our pile of wrappers. This is going to give us a huge amount of choice on exactly where our light is coming from and how we want our image to look. For example, my red lighting arm just here is now shining in through all of those translucent wrappers at the back, and I can bring my white lighting arm around the front to make that foil just stand out and reflect back into the camera. There's a lot to be done here, a lot of experimentation, so I'm just going to get started moving my wrappers around, playing around with them, looking through the camera, maybe doing a little focus stack, and then changing my lighting and changing my wrappers. So as I said at the beginning, this is a very experimental shoot. There's no precision in placing these wrappers. You're not going to get everything absolutely perfect unless you're one of the types of people that like to flatten out all of these pieces of foil and make everything nice and tidy once you've eaten your chocolates. But even then, nothing is going to be perfect. You can't get this foil back into its original shape. There's always going to be creases and unpredictable reflections. That's the joy of a shoot like this. That's why it's going to be so abstract, because there's only a limited amount of control that we can exert over these wrappers and how they're all bundled up together. I have been placing the various different colors towards the forefront and moving them around a little bit, but ultimately we're going to get what we get as we shuffle our wrappers around. One thing that we can control though is our lighting, and you can see here that I've actually plugged in quite a few more lighting arms. That's the joy of a system like this. Because we've got up to 5 ports, we can have 5 lights going at once, and I've got a lot of different colors in here as well. I've now got a still with our white lighting arm diffused at the front here, but we've brought in green, blue and red just to make all of this mess of reflections even more colorful. Those colors are interacting with the colors of the plastic as well, so everything's starting to look really, really interesting and very eye-catching. Let's talk very quickly about focus stacking. Now, focus stacking is taking a series of images and blending them together in post-processing so that you get a fully in-focus image, whereas usually your depth of field would be a limiting factor when you're this close up to a subject. However, it's not absolutely necessary for an abstract subject like this. Particularly with our foil, the lights are actually creating really nice bokeh in the background and the foreground of the images. If you prefer that sort of more abstract look and leaving a little bit of nice bokeh, then you can absolutely embrace the soft focus and shallow depth of field that images like this are naturally inclined to. However, if you do want to focus stack, there are some really interesting things to be done, including only maybe focus stacking half of your full depth and leaving still a little bit of that soft focus deeper into the pile of wrappers. I'll leave that up to you, but if you would like to learn a little bit more about focus stacking, I will link to a video up in the top right hand corner and down in the description. I think this is a really fun little shoot, especially if you've got a spare afternoon, and for the effort of just saving some chocolate wrappers, it can be really fun to just throw them down on a table and experiment. Like I mentioned at the beginning, this is a very experimental shoot. You do have to move your wrappers around and play around until you find something that you're happy with. A big aspect of that is definitely your lighting. Being able to bring your light in from behind, from the front, changing your colors and your diffusion is a really handy way of taking back a little bit of that control from the chaos that is just a pile of chocolate wrappers. It might seem really simple, just take some photographs of some chocolate wrappers, but there's actually quite a lot to be learned in your macro photography skills just by playing around with a pile of foil and plastic. Now, if you don't have any quality streets, I'm sure there are plenty of other brands of chocolate that will do just the same thing. What you're looking for is that reflectiveness and the color, and if you can find some translucent parts as well, that's really fun to play around with. I have had a lot of fun with my shoot today. Let me know what you think to my images down in the comments section, and make sure to give the video a like if you enjoyed it. For now, that is all that I've got time for. I hope that you had a really fantastic Christmas and New Year. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.